Facts Verse presents The Married Woman Who Kept Her Lover in the Attic. Before we get into this very strange video, help us spread the word about Facts Verse by clicking that like button. Also be sure to subscribe and click the notification bell so you don't miss our future videos. Strange lives, strange relationships. There are plenty of people who live relatively strange lives and have some strange relationships. Your friends, neighbors, and even your family members could have a secret hidden life that you know nothing about. You never know what goes on behind those closed doors. And this is an incredibly strange story about the married woman who kept her lover in the attic in the early 1900s. Walburga Dolly Kroschel. Walburga Kroschel, better known as Dolly, was a German immigrant who was born in 1880. She grew up on a Midwestern farm, and her family was poor. All of this changed, though, when Dolly met a wealthy man named Fred Ostrich. Fred was the owner of a very successful apron factory, and the couple married and settled down in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. A troubled marriage. Unfortunately, their happiness didn't last too long. Frank began drinking too much, which left Dolly unsatisfied sexually. Her husband often came home drunk and passed out right away. She began to feel lost and neglected, but that all changed in 1913. Repairing a sewing machine. On a hot autumn day in 1913, Dolly asked her husband to send one of the factory's repairmen to the house to fix her sewing machine. And that was when Dolly met Otto Sandhuber. Otto was a 17-year-old employee, and Fred was sure that he could handle the job. When he arrived at the couple's home, 33-year-old Dolly answered the door, wearing nothing but stockings and a silk robe. She led him to the master bedroom, where her old Singer sewing machine sat, untouched. Dolly and the young man had sex that day in her bedroom. The start of an affair. After the two had sex that day, they began a long-lasting affair. At first, the couple met in hotels. Soon they started throwing caution to the wind, and they were having sex in Dolly and Fred's marital bed. It wasn't long before this became a problem. Her neighbors saw the young man arriving at her home and started asking questions. She told them that he was her vagabond half-brother. Dolly worried that the neighbors would speak to her husband about the man, though, who spent a great deal of time at her house, so she came up with a better idea. She would move Otto into her attic. This way her neighbors would not see him coming and going. Since Fred never went into the attic, she thought it was the perfect solution. There was just one problem. Otto would need to give up everything in his life. He would no longer be able to come and go as he pleases. He would have to spend the rest of his days in the attic. Since he had no family and very few friends, he surprisingly agreed. He just wanted to be with Dolly. Otto's new life. Otto began a new life in the attic. The room where he slept had just a cot and a desk. Dolly would bring him books from the library every week. All of the time he spent alone gave him a chance to get caught up on an imaginary world that he wanted to put on paper. His dream was to write for the pulp comics. The pulps, aka pulp fiction, were magazines from the 19th century. The stories contained sex, murder, addiction, and madness. For 10 cents, readers could envelop themselves in tales of damsels in distress waiting for their hero. This is how Otto saw Dolly back then. A haunting? By 1918, Otto had been living in Dolly's attic for 5 years. During this time, Fred began to question his own sanity. He began hearing strange noises coming from the attic. His cigars would often go missing, and he was sure that he could see strange shadows passing by his bedroom window. He became so worried about it, he decided to move the family to Los Angeles that year. Unfortunately, the haunting followed. Dolly agreed to the move as long as they could have an attic. She sent Otto to Los Angeles ahead of the family so that he could get set up in the attic before she and Fred moved in. Troubled times. Things didn't get any better for the couple when they got to Los Angeles. Fred drank more and more, and he became violent with Dolly. One night he was beating her, so Otto ran down the stairs, grabbed Fred's gun, and shot him. The couple decided to stage the scene to look like a home invasion. Otto took Fred's diamond watch and locked Dolly in the closet. She screamed for the neighbors, and finally the police came. Because she was locked in the closet, they didn't question Dolly's story. She inherited her husband's millions and bought a new house. The house had an attic for Otto. She planned to keep him hidden, even though now she didn't have to. A new relationship. Dolly met a lawyer named Herman Shapiro, and they started dating. She was not careful and she began making mistakes. First, she gave Herman the diamond watch that was supposed to have been stolen in the robbery. When he questioned her, she told him that, she found it in the couch cushion. Herman and Otto weren't enough for Dolly, and she took on a third lover named Roy Klum. She talked him into getting rid of the gun that killed her husband in the La Brea tar pits. When Klum and Dolly broke up, he told the police everything he knew. The police figured out the rest, and they arrested Otto for manslaughter. Since the statute of limitations had run out a year earlier, the charges were dropped. Because the police couldn't figure out how Dolly got locked in the closet, they dropped the charges against her as well. Moving on. Dolly met a man and they were married. She died, a married and free woman, in 1961. Things for Otto did not go as well. The media made him out to be a deviant, and they called him the Batman of Los Angeles. To this day, this is one of the strangest love stories of all time. Subscribe for more.